Liancheng looked up, thinking for a long time. He asked with some confusion, "There are many strange things about this operation." The failure was too complete, and with the strength of the young master, even if he was no match, he wouldn't have died in battle. "Are you being too gentle with them?" Such a result was unacceptable to Deng Yuanbo and Liancheng. The Heavenly God Squad had never lost a battle, and its members were all first-rate fighters, so how could they have died at the hands of a group of Ronin? Liancheng couldn't help but think a conspiracy theory. Could it be that someone had deliberately targeted and killed Deng Shintong? After all, there were also undercurrents swirling in Blizzard City these days. As the designated successor of the Deng family, Deng Shintong was first-rate in both ability and popularity. Almost everyone understands that Deng Shintong is a strong contender for the Deng family's high hopes and the next commander of Blizzard City. Deng Yuanbo narrowed his eyes, his expression hidden in the dim morning light, and it was hard to make out his expression. A voice of experience came from his throat. "No matter what, the Jiangnan region cannot be allowed to fall into chaos. We share the same fate as the Jiangnan region. If Blizzard City goes down, the Deng family will also suffer. I will investigate the matter of the supernatural powers carefully. But for now, we must help the region to stabilize." Liancheng bowed his head and said, "I was short-sighted. I will follow your teachings, sir." No matter how sad he felt in his heart, as the head of the Deng family, Deng Yuanbo needed to take responsibility for the entire family. To go to war with the regional headquarters now would undoubtedly be foolish. However, this matter definitely will not end here. Don't let me find out who did this. Otherwise, even if it is Zhu Zheng, you won't be able to bear the consequences. Deng Yuanbo's dark eyes flashed with a terrifying light. The two armed helicopters flew back to Blizzard City. When they arrived above Blizzard City, Zhang Yi cautiously stared out the window. Sure enough, martial law was in effect in the city today, and there were heavily armed soldiers everywhere. This confirmed the failure of the Heavenly God Squad's operation. Zhang Yi couldn't help but feel a little sorry for them. Although he hadn't had much contact with Deng Shintong, Zhang Yi still quite admired the guy's character. Zhang Yi still owes him a case of origin bullets. The plane landed at the indoor airport, and the huge dome opened to let them fly in, before slowly closing again. The helicopter's doors were opened, and Zhang Yi, Liang Yu, and Flower planned to go out first. After all, the other people inside were either patients or nursing staff, and someone should transfer them to the wards later. Zhang Yi decided not to follow them, but to go and find Bai Li Changqing to find out what was going on. However, after the doors opened, Zhang Yi saw Yanyan team members standing outside. The three in the lead were Yanyan officers, judging by the badges on their shoulders. After seeing Zhang Yi, the officer in the lead, a major, came forward and respectfully gave Zhang Yi a standard military salute. "Welcome back, Mr. Zhang Yi. Thank you for your outstanding achievements in this battle. With your own strength, you killed 4 members of Eclipse Moon and saved the dignity of our Jiangnan region, no, Huashu Kingdom." The major's tone was full of awe and excitement. As a high-ranking member of Yanyan, of course he knew what had happened at Jiangning Square. Almost the entire Heavenly God Squad died in battle, and only Deng Shintong killed an Eclipse Moon member. Zhang Yi, on the other hand, killed 4 Eclipse Moon members. If it had not been for this, the Jiangnan region would have been completely humiliated in this battle. The Huashu Kingdom would also have been mocked by other countries and regions for this. At the very least, Zhang Yi's actions saved the region and the country from being humiliated. As a soldier, Major Yanyan of course knew how difficult it was for Zhang Yi to complete this task. This kind of feat is comparable to driving a tank alone deep into enemy territory, 1 versus 12, and defeating 6 tanks. Of course it is worthy of their admiration. Major Yanyan glanced to the side, and immediately a soldier came over, carrying a plate covered in red silk in his hands. On it were some black cards that looked a bit like metal and a bit like synthetic material. Major Yanyan took one of the black cards from among them and handed it to Zhang Yi. "This is the points card you earned from this operation. With this card, you can spend money in Blizzard City and exchange it for various supplies at headquarters. Major Yanyan suddenly laughed. The total points you earn from this operation are 420 million points. Zhang Yi couldn't help but whistle. That sounds like a lot. But I don't really understand the concept of this thing. How do I measure its value? Major Yanyan thought for a moment and explained, the value of points is more or less the same as the currency before the end of the world. However, the price level nowadays is much higher than before the end of the world, so strictly speaking, the purchasing power of points is stronger than the money before the end of the world. Zhang Yi's eyes immediately lit up. He took the points card and then came up to Major Yanyan's side, putting an arm around his shoulders. With this thing, can I buy anything? Major Yanyan whispered to him, some materials require permissions to purchase. For example, weapons and equipment created with cutting-edge technology. However, judging from the merits you have accumulated, the vast majority of materials will be open to you. Zhang Yi nodded with a satisfied smile. He didn't really need anything else, and the only thing in Blizzard City that could make him excited were the weapons and equipment created with advanced technology. For example, the special battle armor he was currently wearing. With it, even without using his supernatural powers, he could clearly feel that his physical strength and reaction speed had increased by a substantial margin. So where do I go to redeem my weapon equipment? Is it the same place where I received my weapon before? Zhang Yi asked. Major Yanyan nodded. Yes, that's right. Your points card is of a high level, and you can open the corresponding supply warehouse. Okay, thank you. Zhang Yi smiled contentedly. Major Yanyan said, No, I should be thanking you. This was not just polite talk. In theory, it should have been the duty of the soldiers from the regional army to fight against foreign enemies. Zhang Yi was an ordinary citizen, and should not have been in the front line in the first place. After Zhang Yi got the points card, he was going to go find Bai Li Changqing first to ask about the situation. But the Major Yanyan stopped him. Sorry, Mr. Zhang Yi. You can't go anywhere now. Zhang Yi looked at him in surprise. Is there anything else? Major Yanyan replied, We have received orders from the higher-ups that you may not leave for the time being, and that you are to remain within a designated area for the next period of time. Any movement requires approval from above. You may not go anywhere without approval. These words caused the mutants in the outer city to look at each other in confusion. Isn't this equivalent to house arrest? Zhang Yi lowered his head and contemplated for a moment, then a meaningful smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. The loss of the battle had a huge impact on Blizzard City. It seems that someone high up wants to control the situation. He didn't refuse, and nodded with a smile. Very well, as you wish. If he really wanted to go, no one could stop him. After all, the space shuttle ignored all physical existence. Major Yanyan let out a sigh of relief and gestured to the side. Then, please follow me. Zhang Yi, Liang Yu, and Flower followed him to a black car. As for the others, the medical department will naturally take care of the injured. Zhang Yi and Liang Yu arrived in a new area after a short while. They were no longer in the apartment building they had previously lived in, but had entered Area A and arrived at a place similar to a villa area. This was a single-family villa with a small courtyard and a two-story building. Looking out across Blizzard City, this is also one of the top living spaces. Major Yanyan said to Zhang Yi, Here, if you have any needs, you can contact the Yanyan soldiers around you. Then, I wish you a pleasant stay. Zhang Yi nodded his head to him in thanks. Major Yanyan then left the villa. However, around the villa, there were 4 Yanyan guards armed with guns and bullets guarding the 4 directions. If Zhang Yi tries to leave, they will find out. Zhang Yi raised an eyebrow and said indifferently, It seems like things have really gotten out of hand. Flower, however, didn't care about any of this and jumped onto the sofa, where she began to roll around. Liang Yu placed the long sword in her hands on the table, her expression a little worried. Is the Jiangnan region basically putting us under house arrest? We clearly just contributed to the region and have done our part. Why are they doing this to us? Zhang Yi shrugged. Why else? It must be because the defeat in this battle has changed the situation in Blizzard City. It is even possible that a power struggle at the top has arisen as a result. Who knows? Anyway, as long as our safety is not threatened, it doesn't matter. I don't care about anything else. With his outstanding performance in this battle, the higher-ups in Blizzard City will definitely try their best to win him over. Judging from his current treatment, Zhang Yi even feels that they will let Zhang Yi be the captain. Well, I'll have to find a way to refuse that, which is really troublesome. The naive him still thought that he would be fine if he hid himself, but his quick wits, keen insight, and powerful supernatural powers in space could not be hidden. Hey, being too talented can also be a nuisance. Zhang Yi sat on the sofa, slightly sad, covering his forehead. Liang Yu, however, could not be as calm as he was. The difference in strength determined the difference in their state of mind. She paced back and forth in the room, and after much thought, decided to call the shelter. She told Zhang Yi her idea. Should we call home and let them know we're safe? I don't know what the situation will be like in Blizzard City now, so it's better to let them know so they won't worry. And, I'm also a bit worried about something else. Jiangning City is not far from Tianhai City. In case Eclipse Moon escapes to Tianhai City will not be able to defend itself with its current strength. Zhang Yi's eyes narrowed. He hadn't considered this point, because according to the intelligence he had obtained previously, Eclipse Moon's goal was to go to the Central Plains region, not stay on the coast. After all, the idea of the Neon Landing faction was that after the end of the Ice Age, the archipelago and most coastal cities would sink. There was not much point in them going to Tianhai City. But since Liang Yu had brought it up, Zhang Yi felt that it was necessary for him to prepare early. It's better to be safe than sorry. He took out his satellite phone. The phone used by all of them was encrypted, and even the Jiangnan region could not monitor it. Zhang Yi still had great trust in Yang Xinxin's technology. After some consideration, Zhang Yi called Yang Xinxin. After all, Yang Xinxin was the smartest person in the shelter and had a calm analysis and decision-making regarding the situation. The phone quickly connected. Zhang Yi heard Yang Xinxin's worried voice. Her tone was very urgent. Zhang Yi brother, how are you doing in Blizzard City? We are all about to die of fear. Even in Tianhai City, the Reaper of Love that had been set off in Jiangning City could be sensed emitting its light. Even the electronic equipment in Tianhai City temporarily lost its effectiveness. This made Yang Xinxin extremely worried. If it weren't for her knowledge of Zhang Yi's style of doing things, she would understand that he would not put himself in a dangerous situation, and that the Jiangnan region's use of the Reaper of Love could not possibly harm their own people. Yang Xinxin would really be scared silly. Zhang Yi could hear her worry about him and smiled. Don't worry, we're all fine. Has there been anything unusual in Tianhai City lately? Yang Xinxin let out a sigh of relief. It's still as calm as usual, nothing special. The best news is that nothing has happened. In any case, Zhang Yi hopes that his home base can remain peaceful. Zhang Yi said, I'll tell you something, but remember, you must keep it a secret. It's just between you and me, and no one else in the shelter needs to know for now. This time Blizzard City's crusade against Eclipse Moon failed, and the situation with Eclipse Moon is currently unknown. Tianhai City is very close to Jiangning City, so none of you should leave the shelter. Once you notice anything amiss, notify me immediately and go hide in the basement. Also, Xiao Honglian and the others should be informed. Don't tell them about Eclipse Moon, just tell them to be careful of everything around them lately and be ready to take refuge in the shelter at any time. With the shelter and refuge's security levels, even if someone from Eclipse Moon managed to avoid the Reaper of Love, it would be impossible for them to break through in a short period of time. Yang Xinxin frowned slightly after listening to Zhang Yi's words. Okay, I remember, brother. I've also done some research on the Eclipse Moon. I found some information that I think is very interesting. I'll send it to you when I've finished organizing it. Zhang Yi's eyes flashed with a strange light. Oh? Really? The Jiangnan region has also conducted some research on the Eclipse Moon, but the results were limited. How did you manage to do it? Yang Xinxin gave a mysterious smile and said, "What can the programmers at the Jiangnan regional headquarters compare themselves to me? Even though they have the unique advantages of the regional headquarters in terms of equipment, they are not on the same level as me in terms of technology." Zhang Yi laughed and said, "That's true. After all, they all have iron rice bowls. Very few of the world's truly top technical experts, especially hackers, work for official institutions. Yang Xinxin is the perfect example." The two of them chatted for a while. It had been a while since they had last seen each other, and Yang Xinxin and Zhang Yi had a lot to catch up on. After her legs had returned to normal, her personality had become more lively. At the end of the conversation, Zhang Yi said something subconsciously for some reason: "Be careful, and remember to protect yourself." A look of happiness appeared on Yang Xinxin's face. She was filled with joy that Zhang Yi had been thinking of her. "Brother, did you only call Xinxin? Or did you call everyone else?" Zhang Yi was momentarily taken aback. "Of course I called you first. I knew it. You really do love Xinxin the most," Yang Xinxin said with a smile, a blush rising to her face. Zhang Yi laughed silently. He just felt that he could only talk to Yang Xinxin about this kind of thing if she could handle it calmly. Otherwise, if it were someone like Zhou Keir, I'm afraid they would be worried and anxious. Xinxin won't let her brother down. Xinxin won't become a burden either, she can protect herself, Yang Xinxin whispered. She kept her head down, and beneath her long bangs, her dark eyes flickered with an uncertain light. There was an air of danger in the air, almost bordering on madness. Zhang Yi didn't notice this. After all, he couldn't see Yang Xinxin's expression over the phone. "I've never considered you a burden. Xinxin is the best. You've always been a good helper to your brother." Yang Xinxin nodded. "Well, thank you, brother." The two ended the call. Zhang Yi put the phone aside, put his hands behind his head, and began to think about what to do next. However, this will largely depend on the attitude of the senior management of the Jiangnan region. On the other side of the line, Yang Xinxin's small, pale hands gripped the satellite phone tightly. After standing in the same place for a long time, she finally made a decision in her heart. So, she put on her fuzzy slippers and walked step by step towards Zhou Keir's infirmary. When she arrived at the infirmary, Zhou Keir was also inside diligently experimenting with medicine. Zhou Keir used it to conduct experiments, to test the upper limit of her abilities as a doctor, and to try to develop more abilities. Therefore, only through continuous development and research can you maximize the potential of your supernatural abilities. Zhou Keir firmly believed in this. Knock, knock, knock. There was a knock on the door. Zhou Keir put down what she was doing and looked towards the door. "Come in." Yang Xinxin pushed open the door and walked in. She had a smile on her face, and her flushed complexion was somewhat sickly. "Sister, let's start that experiment."